What's up, y'all? This is what if Gohan trained Goten. Now, you might be thinking, but Gohan did train Goten. That's literally where this picture came from, right? Well, yes and no. Yes, Gohan trained Goten, and it's actually a little bit, but it wasn't much. It was just like he dropped out of school for like a few weeks before the tournament, so he could, get some training in. And he taught Gohan and Videl both how to fly, and taught Goten a little bit about Super Saiyan that he didn't know before. Now, in this version, it's a little bit different. As in, they're standing, he has Goten chuck rocks at him, and in this version, he sees Goten can go Super Saiyan. The first thing he does is say, "Goten, come here." Has him go into Super Saiyan and say, "Stay in it with me until you collapse out of it." That sounds like it'll hurt. It will a little bit, but it makes you stronger. Okay. Now hop on the Nimbus. Okay. As he did, he hopped on the Nimbus and flew as much as he could. They flew all the way to Korin's tower. Got the Sensu beans. They got about 100 of them. No, I'm gonna say they got a little bit, about 2 sacks full, because it's been so long since they've needed Sensu beans. This is when we get to see Chi-Chi sees her sons flying back, and because of how fast they were, right when they get home, they see Videl pulled up and talking with their mom. And because they're both blonde and Gohan doesn't feel like hiding anymore, and she already knows he's the great Saiyaman, she invents a little bit about what they are. They're Saiyans, or at least half Saiyans. Their father was a full breed, legendary Super Saiyan, yada yada yada. He's the first Super Saiyan 2, as Gohan tries to show it off, as you hear a little bit of lightning crackling, but he isn't able to fully go into Super Saiyan 2 just yet. And she said, if you're the first one to ever do it, why can't you do it anymore? This is when he said he focused too much on his studies, and he never trained. Goten, straight up admitting, you got really weak. Gohan's saying we're training now, but he's just a kid. He's as strong as he's stronger than I was at his age. How strong were you at his age? I'd say I was about a mountain buster. And that's severely underestimating him, because this would be about the same time that Frieza came back as Mecha Frieza. So I'd say he's probably about an island buster. Maybe island buster at best. Holy shit, that's a lot of power. It is. Right now, he is actually at a whole nother level. What is he? He's a planet buster. But planet buster? Yes. So what are you right now? Probably barely planet buster. What were you at your peak? Oh, I was entire planet buster easy. I was large planet buster now. Now I'm small planet buster. So who's strong between the two of you right now? Don't know, we're gonna check. Key wise, I think I have it, and strategy wise, with training, I just have it on him. He, on the other hand, might be able to keep up with brute force. And he does. They have a sparring match at full force in Super Saiyan. In the end of it, Goten is bleeding from the mouth, so is Gohan. And they look like they just got out of a severe battle. Gohan can barely even stand up. But he got Super Saiyan 2 back. He took everything he had to get it back, but he's back. As he laughs and smiles, walking up to his brother and saying, "Let's train again soon." Both downing a Sensu bean, telling Videl about them, how they're, bullshit magic beans and everything, and they heal any injury. And because they're Saiyans, they get a small power-up after it. And this is when Goten, for the first time, shows off Super Saiyan 2, which barely scratches into it, and then passes down, which Gohan catches him. You need another one, little buddy. You just straight up to rip your chest apart doing that one. Because no one really talks about how much strain these things put on their bodies. It can straight up kill you if you don't know how to use it properly. That's why it was so crazy how powerful they were. Now this is when we get to see Goten need another one, and he stands back up feeling even stronger, because he did just injure his body immensely under the strain. His body couldn't withstand that much power. And the Super Saiyan 2 granted him. This is when he admits that Gohan's probably as strong as he was during the Cell games. This is when Vegeta straight admitting, you mean that Cell guy my father beat? And this is when Gohan actually corrects her. He beat Cell. His father weakened him, then he beat him. Mr. Satan got pimp slapped out of the ring. This is when Gohan actually gave him props. Mr. Satan's probably higher strength than most humans. Hell, he's probably the strongest man alive. Who hasn't been training with who's other than the Z Fighters? Hearing this, saying, what do you mean other than the Z Fighters? Gohan asking all of them to pull up. Krillin asking for a day off. He got it. Surprisingly enough, Yamcha and Tien both show up. You know, with all their people. Roshi pulls up. Vegeta pulls up. The entirety of the Z Fighters come in. Even the androids appear. This is when you get to see a fucking demon appear out of it everywhere. And this is the first time I've ever seen how powerful that the Z Fighters truly is. Videl showing how, thinking her father was the strongest, calls him to come in and try doing something. This is when, surprisingly enough, Trunks. Trunks is not there. Trunks is not. Only the main Z Fighter roster from back then is there. Surprisingly enough, seeing these people, she recognizes so many of them from the video. And when they actually almost got paid off to lie, but this is when Gohan was honest. He defeated Cell, not Mr. Satan. Mr. Satan was crying and cowering about a stomach issue while he was fist fighting this guy on a damn near equal playing field. And even beat Cell. Goten, hearing all this, saying, Mr. Satan's a liar. So does Videl. Then Gohan says something unexpected. In martial arts, there's no regular human on par with Mr. Satan. No regular human. I put that in parentheses. Because the Z Fighters aren't regular humans. They train with Saiyans, they train with demons, they train a bit with gods. And yes, I count Kami as a god. Fuck you. Anyway. And even Gohan straight up admits, if it wasn't for his father's training, as well as training with Piccolo, both are aliens, by the way, he probably wouldn't have been such a powerful individual. This is when Goten actually surprisingly said, Mr. Piccolo? As Piccolo walks in saying, yes, I trained your brother. Wow. Anyway, after this, they all talk about the thing at once, and Vegeta straight up said, I'm in. Goku straight up says, I'm in too! So, you know, his whole, like, spirit talk and everything like that. This is when we get, surprisingly enough, the biggest surprise. We get to see Yamcha for the first time dust off his old gi, since he pulled up with it. And surprisingly enough, him, Tien, and Krillin got into a 3-man training match. Surprisingly enough, the one to join next would be Piccolo. And this is when they said they needed to train to beat the Super Saiyans. This is when, surprisingly enough, Gohan showed Vegeta he's still as strong as he was before. He's actually stronger than he was. That they saw each other a few days ago. Surprisingly enough, Vegeta smiles and says, oh, you think you're on my level, child? As surprisingly enough, seeing Vegeta go into Super Saiyan 2, they even out the playing field, and Videl can't tell who's stronger. This is when Goten, of all people, says, I think Mr. Vegeta's stronger, but I think my brother's getting serious. This is almost a scary amount of power they're using. Hearing this, Videl actually says, what do you mean, scary? Can't you keep up with that? No. No one can. This makes Cell look like a joke. Mr. Satan said, I bet I could take him, thinking he was still that tough shit, because he figured, fuck it. They've been in times of peace, and he's still done martial arts training. He can probably keep up. Only to be realizing how outmatched he was whenever Vegeta flexed and Mr. Satan got knocked out. Now, this is when all the Z Fighters leave, and Gohan said, good. Now, over the next about, I'm going to say 2 weeks, until the tournament happens, they get to see Gohan and Trunks, actually Gohan and Goten training like their life depends on it. Gohan intentionally forgot to tell Vegeta that Goten had Super Saiyan 2, and actually told Goten not to tell Vegeta, because if he did know, he'd be training with Trunks to get Super Saiyan 2 as well. He did train a little bit with Trunks, you know, the same amount he did in canon, because he found out how powerful Trunks was, when Trunks went Super Saiyan and started playing around in the gravity chamber until, you know, the punch in the face happened and all that, and they went to the park. But this version is a whole different story. Whenever we get to see their training, Gohan has actually trained Goten. Both of them have trained to the point where they're almost even powered. Or even if they're not even powered, it's closer than it was before. Gohan, surprisingly enough, I'd say is stronger than Vegeta. Remember, he's got hellishly high potential. And we know he's got that crazy growth ability as well as high Zenkais because he is taking damage against his brother. And in the end of this fight, I'd say they both can go to Super Saiyan 2 at will. Gohan told them they need to both stay in Super Saiyan 2 for 24 hours. They do it, and Gohan barely makes it to 24, but feels like he could go for a little bit longer. Goten hits 24 hours. He only lasts 2 more seconds before he turns out of Super Saiyan and hit his face into base form. This is when their training really began. The next day is the tournament, though. They both got sleep and ate a senzu bean. Surprisingly enough, Goten was surprised at how powerful his older brother really was, and saw how much of a monster Goku and Gohan really are. But he's no weaker than them. Now, Gohan didn't know about the children thing for the tournament. They thought that they'd be competing against the adults. So Gohan was going to be laughing when Vegeta got his ass whooped by Goten on an even playing field. And he was going to laugh when him and his father squared off and saw who truly was the strongest of the Sun household. Now, they decided they'd figure out who the true stronger between the two of them were in the ring. Now, this would lead to a whole different thing. When Goten and Trunks looked at each other, they were ready for this. And their fights basically all went the same, except for the fact Goten realizes how powerful he really is. And he has to hold back so much more. But when him and Trunks are about to go square off, they're almost going at an even power. They're going on a 1-to-1. No one, I'd say, would probably be able to match this unless they're incredibly strong. Even the strongest fighters probably couldn't match them in power at this moment. This is when Trunks, surprisingly enough, went in Super Saiyan to match to feel the power difference between the two in base. I'm gonna say Goten's about 1.5 of what Trunks is, or even maybe 3 times. So he's absolutely dominating this battle. Then Trunks goes into Super Saiyan and flexes that he's stronger, only with the 50 times multiplied the Super Saiyan provides. But he hasn't even mastered Super Saiyan. When Goten goes into it, Vegeta could feel something. This wasn't like regular Super Saiyan. This wasn't like his son. This was like mastered Super Saiyan. This is something even he struggled to get. He's worried, because if this kid has mastered Super Saiyan, what else might he have? He probably doesn't have Super Saiyan 2. He's thinking this. Maybe Trunks can pull something out. He's probably as good of a fighter as his father would be because of the training they did do together. He may be able to keep up. Nope. When Trunks went out, they actually had a key struggle, which Goten absolutely just threw his beam away. And then, surprisingly enough, Trunks went for a groin shot. Goten catches the kick and sent his foot into the ground and powers into Super Saiyan 2, showing off that he's the stronger of the two. Vegeta actually drops to his knees, saying, a child, a mere boy is outclassing the power that even I wield. Vegeta not wanting to show that he's actually scared. When everyone is actually finally there, Gohan's smiling, and he's in the Great Saiyaman outfit, but he decided he'd make this his regular uniform for fighting. He combined Vegeta and Goku's main gis with the color differentiation, because green probably suits him better. Though he would admit he only decided on green because it was different than everyone else's, and because it reminded him of 16. Now, here's where we get to see the true power, the absolute dominance that they can really show. Here's where we get to see Gohan utterly dominate the eventually things. Now, in this version, whenever he saw Spopovich, Gohan knew he was at the edge of a breakthrough. He's mastered Super Saiyan 2. He's actually mastered around the same par as Vegeta, even a little bit above him. This is when he realized what's going on. He saw how strong Vegeta, he could feel how strong his brother was. And he knows he's matched his brother's strength, even sometimes going above it. Thing is, in this version, there's a different thing. He didn't ask to go against Mr. Satan. He asked to be enrolled in the adults' fucking training matches. He wanted to go into their tournament. Hearing this, they said sure. He'd have to beat someone, though. Who would he like to take his crack at? This is when he actually surprisingly points to the only one who's not a Z-fighter. Or really, I think he would just point towards some random actual person. And the one he pointed to absolutely got dominated. Now, this is when we get to see an utterly domination of a fight. Because there's a kid going into the adults fight ready to win. Thing is, Goten knows what his level is. And the first match is actually a father versus son match. Now, Spopovich versus Videl still happened, but in this version, it was way different. So, like I was saying, he realizes what this fight's going to be. The first father versus son. It's Goku. Well, actually, the whole thing with Spopovich and like that happened. But in this version, before Gohan's fight against the Supreme Kai and Piccolo's fight against Kibito, the first bout is way different. It's a battle between Goku and Goten. Base forms are actually almost even, with Goku holding a slight advantage. Only barely though, and that's with his years of training and experience. Goten holding more of a kind of going wild on him. Goku remembers when he was young, he used to do the same shit, making his moves unpredictable. But then Goten used Super Saiyan 2 on him, and Goku countered with Super Saiyan 2 himself, going into it as if it was easy. At this point, they're going into it like it's a full-on battle. But in the end, Goku does barely manage to get his son out of the ring with an elbow that sends him out. Admitting that it was a good fight, he picks his son up and said, "Thank you, my boy. That was fun. You were this close to having me," which he was. He used Goku, almost got knocked out by his feet whenever Goten tried pulling him out, which was right before Goku flipped it on him and got him out himself, only by the grit of his teeth, though. Now, here's where we get to see the big difference. When Gohan had shown off his Super Saiyan 2 form, it wasn't like, oh, he can go back into that, this is rage. It was like, he's berserking out again. And it gave everyone PTSD from whenever he was fighting Cell. Well, it gave a good few people PTSD. One was Mr. Satan. And a cameraman, who was literally the one video taping that shit. He's terrified. And he just went with what Mr. Satan said, because he just felt like it. He just was terrified of Gohan at this point. Now, in this version, whenever they decide to leave, Goten and Trunks still became the masked warrior. Or at least they were going to be. But, turns out, masked warrior was the kind of last participant that was going to be the one to join. But Goten straight up said, there's no point. And in the end, it was still won by Hercule. Thing is, Videl knew that this was 18 giving him the win and being bribed. Surprisingly enough, Mr. Satan had straight up... This is when, surprisingly enough, Goten had walked up to Mr. Satan and said, "Mr. Satan, now I have to ask you a question." "Yeah, what is it, kid?" "Can I get that 1v1 now?" "Sure, but after all, I didn't get the chance to face off in your father's martial arts against. Let's see what yours can do." Goten, actually, surprisingly enough, he has more power, but he still holds back. He's just going off sheer martial arts, not strength. He outspeeds him, outclasses him in every way, yes. Martial arts is not his strong suit, though. But he is able to squeak by because he does know a little bit. Though eventually Mr. Satan does use his martial arts to win the fight, he notes that hitting Goten was the equivalent of hitting a brick wall when he was a young kid. It hurt like hell. Then Goten actually asked him if they could go again, but this time a going in 1v1, full force to full force. Sure. Surprisingly enough, this version, Goten straight just one-shots him and sent him flying out the arena. Thing is, this already happens after the events of Buu. Now, the Buu Saga would go basically the same, honestly. I mean, I don't know how having another Super Saiyan 2 level threat is going to do much, honestly. Though I will say this, there is a small difference. Because whenever, when Goten flies over there, when they decide to go into Gotenks, it's a whole different battle. Because whenever they go into Super Saiyan 3's Gotenks, it's not fair. It's far as hell from being a fair match. And they find out why it's not even close to being a fair match. Because he's absolutely getting destroyed. They figured it out when he got his ass whooped. He was absolutely dominated. And damn near died. And then he died. Well, not actually dead. Or, I guess, yeah, the Z-Wars, everyone but, the big guys were killed. But in this version, Goten was among the fighters that were left. Because when Gotenks got unfused, when Vegeta came in, it was still the same battle. Basically, it ends the same way. But in this version, Gohan realized that he needs to keep training. If a threat like that comes back again, they're fucked. Because Buu is one thing, but what if someone stronger comes out? I'm wondering, who's going to be stronger than Buu? Well, there's always the biggest demon around. There's Beerus. And honestly, if Frieza came back, they're not sure if they could take him if he was to properly train. Foreshadowing, anyway. As this is when Goten would actually decide to train with Trunks. But they would train against Gohan. Gohan balancing his studies and his sparring. Surprisingly enough, once he finished studying, he takes a day off of class, goes into training. Once those 3 years time skip had happened, Gohan had actually shown that he was actually in a full-on relationship with Videl. Now, this made it where it was a whole different battle. I know I say a whole different battle, like life is going to be that hard for him. Well, it is a little bit, because Goten absolutely has had a few times where he's actively beaten his older brother in a fight. This makes Gohan train more. Now, he still has his ultimate form to rely on, but he's never needed it. He always barely scratches out of Super Saiyan 2, and he's only gone ultimate about twice. And that was against Gotenks. In Super Saiyan 2, he only matches Goten. Now, Goten doesn't want to go to an ultimate form. He doesn't want to learn any of that. He wants to see if he can unlock Super Saiyan 3. And at one point, Goten actively shows signs of Super Saiyan 3 when he had basically, GT Goku hair and everything in Super Saiyan 3. He looked like he was regular GT Goku, but in his own little gi. This makes it a whole different fight, though, because whenever they go into this match, Gohan has to use Ultimate. Super Saiyan 2 isn't cutting it. He's getting absolutely destroyed. Super Saiyan 2 absolutely gets him eliminated, so he gets into Ultimate form. And they actually have a good match until Gohan barely squeaks by with a win, as they barely knock each other down, but Gohan stands back up. Trunks sees this and he knows how outmatched he is. He barely learned Super Saiyan 2 like 3 days ago. And this is like a week before Beerus would come back. But this is when Trunks decided to go get some training in when they're not training sessions happening. But he walks up to his father. And Vegeta says, "What do you want, son?" "Father, training, now." "Really? Fine, let's go." As Trunks and Vegeta go in there, he said 500 times Earth's gravity, now. "You're serious? You can't even handle 100 times Earth's gravity in your base form." "I don't care." "Fine. Then go Super Saiyan." "Not yet." "Alright. Vegeta staying in base as well, 500 actually making it where they can barely even walk around in base. Surprisingly enough, Trunks is barely showing that he can still somewhat move. And then he asks his father to turn it up. Like Siri, he says gravity room, times 600 gravity. Making it where they actually can't move, and they're laid on the ground. They both charge into Super Saiyan and stand up. And then they want the room to go even higher. All the way up to 600 times Earth's gravity. Now they're noting that they can barely even walk around. In 600 times Earth's gravity, their steps are like getting craters. But 600 times isn't really that big of a deal. It's only a big deal in regular Super Saiyan. This is when he actually asked his father to amp it up, since they're walking around like it's base form, like it's nothing to them. This is when he actually decided to have the gravity room increase until they couldn't move, which is a setting that I'm going to say he would have Bulma put into it. Once Bulma finishes putting that in, it literally made it where Trunks couldn't move in base at around 700, then in Super Saiyan at around like 2000, and then in Super Saiyan 2, he could barely even take steps at the room's max potential, about 4000. Now he was only barely even able to walk, but then he got into a fighting stance with his father, both of them training at an almost surprisingly high amount. And when they were done, they were laid out on the ground, and the gravity room goes, whenever they drop down to base, because this would kill them if they're not in base. If they're in base, they'll die instantly. It instantly turns off. And there's a pack of senzu beans in a chair for whenever it hits that point. And they eat senzu beans and all that, and they get back up. Eventually, it seems like they're absolutely outclassing. They're going high. Trunks is trying to go into Super Saiyan 3 like Goten did. Vegeta, hearing that the kid went into Super Saiyan 3, is enraged. First Goku, then his first brat, now his youngest. As Vegeta roars out in rage, he hits Super Saiyan 3 for a moment. Trunks sees this and lets his anger take hold of him, and hit Super Saiyan 3 only for a second. Now, Vegeta was able to hold it for about 2 seconds. Trunks was 1. Then they hit the floor, together. And they straight up said, I don't think I can move right now. And this is when you hear a loud chuckle. Who's laughing at them? Surprisingly enough, it's Bulma. She was watching the whole thing. And then she said, you're getting stronger. I will say that, Vegeta. You went into Super Saiyan 3 for a few seconds. Now train if you really want to beat Goku. Remembering that he does want to beat Goku. He wants to be the strongest. He doesn't want to be the second fiddle. Besides, if his son is going to try getting Super Saiyan 3, why shouldn't he? Besides, what if he masters it? They know every other Super Saiyan form can be mastered. Why not 3? Then, they do. And they barely reach 3 on the day before Beerus gets there. They know Bulma's birthday is coming up the next day. So they decide to give Bulma a present. What could they get for the woman that has literally everything? That's just it. They're going to give her an extensive research on what Saiyans can do. On how to make... on what the Saiyans use to go Super Saiyan. So Bulma hears this, that she's got the chance to go into, all these cool things. She actually says that'd be amazing. And actually thanks them. And even asks them, what else are y'all planning on giving me? Trunks actually wrote her a little card, and she was happy. Vegeta offered her something unexpected. He spoke to her in the Saiyan language. I'm going to say Saiyans have their own language. That sounds pretty cool. Just put Vegeta in Saiyan language. Vegeta speaks Saiyan language. No, it's not a big deal, but still. It sounds pretty cool, and I'm going with it. But that's not what we're here about. We're about Goten. Not Vegeta becoming a good father. Now, this is when we get to see a whole different side. When Beerus came in, Seeing his father bow like he was pathetic, Trunks even went and treated proper royal etiquette, which his father has taught him. He got down to one knee and bowed to Beerus and said, "Lord Beerus, it's an honor to meet you, sir." Surprisingly enough, looking at him saying, "Who is this boy?" Vegeta saying, "My son, my son, Trunks." "Oh, hello, Trunks. Nice to meet you." "It's an honor, Lord Beerus." Good. This is when Goten actually sees Beerus after he'd already defeated Goku, though Goku was more amped to train. Seeing his sons kept training, his best friend kept training, why wouldn't he keep training, right? He does. And his Super Saiyan 3 form is about 4 times what it was in canon. I say all of them are roughly as strong as Goku's Super Saiyan 3 form was in canon, with their own Super Saiyan 3 variations. So, then we've got the whole form that's rarely, if ever, seen. We see Vegeta use something he wasn't planning on. He nodded with everyone and said, "Let's go," and flew forward and one-shot the strongest among them. And by that I mean Gohan was the strongest among them. Vegeta flew forward, but saw Gohan got one shot. Literally, Beerus went all out for this one, because he felt the power they were excreting. It was almost as strong as Goku, and when Vegeta went Super Saiyan 3, so did Trunks and Goten. Only in this version, they look at each other and fuse. But they do something unknown. Their tails grow back for a moment, and they hit a new form. But their time gets cut down to only a few seconds when it hits Beerus in the face and sends him flying. Beerus, who got dragged across the ground, turns back, wiping a little bit of blood off his mouth. Noting this was stronger than the Super Saiyan God ritual Goku was in canon. As he licks it out, saying, "Who dares do that?" Surprisingly enough, seeing a Super Saiyan 4 go tanks for only a moment before they hit the ground. Because that's how powerful Super Saiyan 4 really is. Because they're not in adult bodies, when they fall back, they only are able to go into Super Saiyan 3, and they match the God on his own game. Now, this is when we get to see a Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and a Ultimate Gohan straight up matching Beerus, while 2 more Super Saiyan 3s are fighting in, while the humans and Piccolo even jump in too. This is when, surprisingly to everyone, Krillin said something right before jumping in. 18. Take Bulma, Chi-Chi, and the rest and get them out of here. Including our daughter. Look, take everyone who can't fight and get them out of here now. Surprisingly enough, Krillin is saying for everyone's safety. They all get into a spaceship and fly as far as they can. As Krillin did something he wasn't expecting he'd have to do for a long time. He got serious. So were they all getting serious. As their power started to increase and they started to bulk out, this is when they saw Roshi walk in. As you hear, Kamehameha! The old master still has something in him. As they all powered up into the Roshi's buff form, noting they're not as good as it as him, but they start swinging and they're going ham on the god. This is when Beerus says, "Enough!" And surprisingly enough, Bulma refused to get on the ship and slaps Beerus in the mouth. This is when Vegeta turned off all senses and yelled, My Bulma! Everyone turns their head, seeing Vegeta's pissed. Oh fuck. Literally, even Gohan says, "Oh shit." When Whis straight up says this power is above that of Goku's power for an earlier moment. Actively a little bit scared, Beerus is actively intrigued to fight this. And I know you might think, oh, he only used 5, maybe 10% at most in canon against them, right? 15 against God at best. Well, yeah, but in this version, he's having to use 15 on their Super Saiyan 3 variations, and in this version, he's actually using 25% on Vegeta at this point. And he's actively hitting him with 25% of his full power. He's not holding back. But every hit just makes Vegeta keep fighting. And this is when Gohan powers up and does something he was never planning on. He looks his brother in the eyes and says, Gohan, Goten, I'm letting loose for one time. Run. This is when Gohan starts remembering what Cell did. He remembers everything that's ever hurt him. He remembers Frieza. And now this is when Videl even told him that she was pregnant. Hearing this, you hear Gohan's eyes straight up keel over white, as he went into his own mastered ultimate form, as he flew forward and one-shot the god, sending him flying, noting now he's having used he's now using 30% against them both at once, and actively taking hits that are knocking him around. And even though 30% isn't enough to take him on, for a moment they see Beerus at 50%. This is when Goku pulls in and reveals that he's been here. Going into his own Super Saiyan form, remembering what he's losing if he's about to fall. Going to ask Blom if he can use the Dragon Balls. Not yet powering up. But he is planning if he does have to go in, he's going in. As he sees Vegeta hit the floor and Gohan almost at the same time with a 50% Beerus, enraged. Now this is when Goku looks eye to eye with Beerus and says, Beerus, what would have happened if I had gone at you full force right now? Well, I'd roughly state you could probably keep up with 25% at best. That's what they were doing when they were letting loose on me. And what do you think would happen if I let loose on you in the same fashion? You may be stronger than them, you may be weaker, I don't care. Alright. Well, let's check the Dragon Balls to find out who the Super Saiyan God is. Because there is no Super Saiyan God currently, they asked something unexpected. What the ritual was. Now, this made it where there was now a Super Saiyan God ritual. And they find out, wait, there is a Super Saiyan God ritual. And wait, there is a powerhouse they can use. Then they hear that they only need that many Saiyans. They think they only need 5. And they said that's perfect. After all, there's only 5 Saiyans. Thing is, this is when they realize that they're kind of actually fucked. Now, this is when we get to see that Goku, surprisingly enough, thinks he can take him now. Having all the energy of the Z-Warriors, he's ready to win. His power-up probably makes him at least on the level of an enraged Vegeta at base. And his base form is probably not enough to take on Beerus when he hits Super Saiyan 3, maybe even defeating Beerus. Though, he doesn't know about Ultra Instinct or the little bit of Omen, that little bit that Beerus has. I'm going to say there's 100% and then there's that, which I'm going to say is like 125%. It's when he's truly going all out. Now, he's going to a certain amounts of his base form, not his full force. This is when we can see Gohan deciding what to do. He powers up for this shit. As they start to bulk out a little bit, you get to see that Gohan does know that there is Videl and she is pregnant. That makes it another Saiyan, right? Exactly. And when Videl helped with the energy they had, this is when you get to see a raging Goku in God form, thinking of his grandchild hasn't even been born yet. His 2 sons, his best friend, every one of his friends is there. He has to win this fight. If he doesn't, the entire world gets destroyed. At this point, in God form, he's keeping up with Beerus at an almost stalemating level. And this is a 100% Beerus. And I know that's crazy compared to what he was going in canon, but let's face it, he's on a whole nother level. This entire thing is on a whole nother level. And whenever he hits the ground, he bounces. Beerus is surprised because their strikes are going almost even. This is when Goku falls down back to base and kept fighting. And then he hits Super Saiyan Goku, realizing he's not in God form anymore, what's he going to do? He's going to use Super Saiyan 3. He's going to try using Super Saiyan 3 to beat Beerus, and he does for a moment, and hit the cat as hard as he could. This is when we get to see Ultra Instinct Omen, or at least what little fragments he has, as Beerus uses it against Goku. It's the first time he's going with everything in his body. He's hitting him like he's an honest-to-God threat. And Goku hits the ground. He bounces. Because this is a version of Goku that's barely... I'm going to say he's almost as strong as Ultra Instinct Goku was in canon. In God form, but not quite. He's not got blue yet, which means he's not strong enough for this shit. As he basically hit the ground and passed out. Because they saw an injured Beerus, they think they can take him. So before he tries using Hakai, you hear Kamehameha by Goten, surprisingly of all people. You hear Bing Attack. Surprising enough, Vegeta is not expecting what he has to go deal with. As Goku bounced off the ground and was about to get given a senzu bean by Trunks, while the rest of them were to fight the God of Destruction. This is when you hear a loud roar of power. Whenever Beerus yells, "Whis, help me with this!" Whis thinking, "Oh, I finally get to step in. Alright." Whis taking steps absolutely drops everyone on the ground. They all out. Vegeta's the last one standing, and he's using his everything he has trying to fight. Gohan wakes up for a second and hits Berserk. This is a fair fight at this point. It's not like a 1v1, it's a monster versus monster at this point. In the end, Vegeta lost, and Gohan hit the floor. Beerus is bloodied and beaten and can barely even stand up. Asks Whis to heal him, while Trunks just gives out all the senzu beans. They all power up and they're above what they were before. At this point, Goku thinks he could take the cat. Then, whenever they see Beerus completely healed, smiling, but they're all completely healed too. So they know that without Goku with Goku not having God form, they're screwed. It took Goku in God form to do this damage. He's not in God form anymore. Therefore, not as much damage. But they do know he's stronger, and they could probably use it again. This is when Beerus said, "You lose." And Goku actively used his Kamehameha to even out the power of a full-fledged Hakai. And this is 100% Hakai. But guess what it hit? Whenever it was done blasting and destroyed the Kamehameha, another Hakai came out of Beerus' hand, not having enough energy to throw it out. Throw another one, Kamehameha at him. When Vegeta's about to use a Big Bang attack, it hits a rock. And it says there, "I've destroyed a piece of the earth." Now, looking eye to eye with Goku saying, "Let's get more food. I'm starving." Alright. And they are eating like kings. But after 6 months, Vegeta's been training on the planet. He's been training on the planet of Beerus with doing the whole thing, and he's actively matched Goku's power, possibly even surpassing him in certain points. This is when we get to see that Vegeta basically mastered it. Now Vegeta's almost an unparalleled power. There's no way that Goku could take this, right? He's been training with his sons. Gohan has been more focused on training with Goten, but they would still spar with their father every few days. And Goku spent most of his time training while trying to, get all the stuff as fast as possible. Which was damn near impressive, which was almost unstoppable. Finding out that Whis was coming, he saw Whis eye to eye and said, "Hello, Whis." Whis remembers the show Goku put on saying, "Hello, Goku. Is there something I can help you with? I wish to train with you." What do you... As they actually do get food. Surprisingly enough, Gohan said, "I'll train with I'll stay protecting the Earth, as he slammed his chest, saying, you two, go have fun, and become as strong as possible. This is when, surprisingly enough, the Kais show up on Earth. And Gohan actually asked if he could train with the Kais, a little bit at least, to perfect his ultimate form a little bit better. Because the ultimate form is what the Kais do, they said, sure, let's do it. Supreme Kai and Elder Kai trained with him. Or I guess it would be Capito Kai, I guess. Or, I'm not sure which one it is, but whatever. They're fighting, and they training, and they doing damn good at it. This is when they actively match everyone. They're matching soul to soul. They're doing multiple versus one, but even though they don't have the power to keep up, they are doing training him with their moves on Earth. Goten is training against Trunks, and in the end, they saw that the ultimate form was the Grand Mastery. Now, they saw that Gohan was going like the Kais. Goku and Vegeta were going like the God of Destruction. Or more specifically, Goku wanted to be more like Whis, the attendant of Beerus, the strongest one. So, they're training. And they figured out Beerus is not stronger than Whis, when Whis absolutely dominates their fight. A Super Saiyan God not being even close to beating Whis, making it a pretty fair fight. Even though Super Saiyan God is not strong enough to defeat Whis, it does leave a few scratches. And Whis, healing himself and the rest, shows that he's impressed. This is when they show Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, and like canon, Whis straight up tells them, no. Stop calling it that. It's a tongue twister and I don't like it. Call it Super Saiyan Blue. Alright. Now, this is when we get to see a surprising sight. Goku, they get back to Earth, and in this version, they're fighting against Frieza. Resurrection F, motherfuckers. But in this version, when Resurrection F happens, Gohan isn't being absolutely destroyed like he was in canon. He hasn't lost an ounce of muscle. He's gained some. I'd say he's roughly as strong as Super Saiyan God was, or maybe even Canon Blue, at this point in time. And he's actively overwhelming it. And he's trained with Piccolo a lot. This is when Piccolo and him look eye to eye with each other. And they start going at it. He yells, Piccolo, you and the rest of the Z Fighters, get everyone out of here. Get all of them away from this. As he utterly dominates this battle in ultimate form. Goten and Trunks are actually standing there next to him, saying, let's go. As they're the ones trying to take on the giant hordes. And this is when, surprisingly enough, you hear, really? Goku's brat is trying to defeat me? From the very cocky Frieza. As this is when Frieza shows his golden form. He didn't need it in canon. He uses golden this time because he's getting absolutely dominated in this one. Although, he wasn't expecting what he's going to have to go through. He's going to have to fight at a full godly tier to even come close. He's getting absolutely destroyed. What is he going to do? He's going to try to match it. Will he be able to match it? Probably not, but he's going to try. Now this is when they actually do. They match the strength, almost paralleling each other. They perfectly match their strength, paralleling each other, actually. Kind of terrifying. As they're going at it. God. Going at it. Gold to ultimate. And they're going at it, even stalemated. It's like, it's almost on par with Blue before it was ever shown. Because they're actively equaling out. Now in this version, because they know Frieza's on Earth, Bulma wants to get a hold of them, but Gohan says he's got it. But still tells them if Frieza reveals another form, they're fucked. So they do need to get called. Now, they do this. They're going crazy. Or at least they thought they were. When Gohan hits the ground. He lost. How did he lose? Well, he's just not quite there. When a bunch of other guards, like what happened with Goku, Gohan got a little bit too cocky and let his guard down from behind for a second. When a light beam pierced his chest, and he hit the ground out of ultimate and went back to base. As they see a bleeding out Goten is looking eye to eye with Beerus. With Frieza. And says, "You bastard! You killed my brother." Surprisingly enough, Trunks didn't tell Goten Gohan was still alive. He thinks his older brother is dead. Like completely never coming back or something. Forgetting about the Dragon Balls entirely. As his eyes open, he's raging out and hits Super Saiyan 3. But you might think that's not a big deal, right? Here's where the big deal comes in. Super Saiyan 4 as his tail shot out. And Super Saiyan 4 made an appearance for the first time. As he looks eye to eye with the golden man and says, "Die." Oh shit. Yes. Indeed. Frieza absolutely getting his ass beat. Goku and Vegeta pull up. See Goten killing Frieza. Then, when Frieza was about to blow up the planets, Goten kicked him in the mouth, making his beam fly upwards. And this version, it actually got sent to Beerus, who's with them. Beerus, after reflecting that he just got hit by this beam, he says, "Huh." Watching his mouth. A little bit licking off the blood, saying, "Oh, I'm about to kill you, Frieza. I'm about to kill you. Come here." Frieza's absolutely terrified. He absolutely was not expecting to get his ass beat, especially like this. This is when, surprisingly enough, a hand just slaps into Beerus' chest, and you hear doom. Everyone in Z Warrior is surprised whenever he was stopped in his tracks. Who stopped him? It was, surprisingly enough, out of everyone, it was Krillin. Krillin stopped a god. Beerus says, "Why'd you stop me, Baldy?" This is when Krillin said, "Look, you go in there right now, you're gonna get a worse ass whooping than you did against Blue. Than you did against God Goku. Explain, Curly. Explain, Baldy." Alright. Look at that form he's using. What is it? I don't know what they're gonna call it, but it basically, it's the thing after Super Saiyan 3. I think they're gonna call it Super Saiyan 4 or some shit like that. I don't fucking care. Anyway, the amount of power it shows is higher than that Goku's was. This shows an absolute dominance over even the strongest of the warriors. Goku's saying, "Oh shit, he's strong." Yes, it's probably even stronger than Gohan in ultimate form. But this is when they reveal that Goten hits the floor. His Super Saiyan 4 form giving out. As this is when Trunks says, "My turn." Technically, Trunks already hasn't had a turn yet, so he is allowed to go first. A Super Saiyan 3 Trunks, showing an already injured to hell Frieza, saying, "It took all of you to do this." This is when Trunks said, "No, it didn't." "What do you mean?" "Well, Goku and Vegeta are here and they haven't broken a sweat." "Oh, and if you're thinking beating Gohan was strong, he was utterly shit-stomping you until he got that cheap shot in." "Oh, and Goten just gave out because his power was too strong for his body." So, in all accounts, you're not stronger than him. And what about you? I'm still a kid. That's some reason you're stronger than me. "Why, you little shit," as you hear, "I'll blow up the world." When he makes the giant ball of energy to blow the planet up, he gets hit with the Mysenko. As he remembers that this looks exactly like the sight that he had before. Only in this version, he uses a blade made of ki. But this is when he actually asked if he could get a sword. And he was given the one Gohan and Trunks got. I'm going to say he has it in his room. Surprisingly enough, he said he should have brought it, because he wants to use that. as he starts putting it in a sheath and carrying it on his back. Looking a lot more like future Trunks, surprisingly enough. And enjoying the fact he has a jean jacket and actively using black tank tops now. Perfectly fits him, don't it? And now, who's next? Of course, there's only got to be one person that could be showing up with this kind of power. It'd have to be the only one stronger. I'm kidding. Anyway, since Trunks started using a sword, Goten notes that this made it a lot more of an even fight. Now, Goten mainly just blocks his sword and sends it flying backwards, but imbuing swords with ki does make him a lot more dangerous than expected. Now we have to go with the actively most terrifying part. Now, the scariest part is that next to no one there is easy to defeat. Not a single one. Now, when they're going to have the Universe 6 vs 7 tournament, they saw whenever Champa came in, Beerus was already pissed off chasing down Goku and Vegeta, so he straight up got bull charged. Now, Beerus doesn't want to be outdone. He knows he's the strongest god of destruction currently, especially when he's using his Ultra Instinct variations, so he's going all out. Now, he started trying to master Ultra Instinct even faster, and Goku finding out about this Ultra Instinct is very intrigued, and they start training in it. Goku already showed off Kaioken times 20, and Vegeta shows off his new form he likes to call Blue or Royal Blue. He calls it Royal Blue, and it looks amazing. Goten has done nothing but train trying to master his new form he calls Super Saiyan 4, which he notes it has to keep his tail, but he doesn't mind. He likes it. He uses it as a belt. A lot like Vegeta did back when he first came in to the series. Now, this made it where he's starting to actually go at an even scale, or at least somewhat. Who's going to be the one to appear first? It's the most dangerous of all. Now, we have to understand who's going to go into the Universe 6 vs 7 tournament. Gohan in canon had a scheduling conflict. Trunks and Goten don't. And Trunks is trying to keep up with his family. But this is when he discovered something about his form. He calls it Hope. As he powers up, it has blue remnants about it. They think it's like blue ki infused with it, ain't it? Since that is what Vegeta trained with him and gave him a little bit of it so he could keep up. Now, in this version, they start seeing a whole difference. But the Universe 6 vs 7 tournament, who's going to be their 5th combatant? They're wondering who it should be. Roshi was thrown around the table a little bit. Even Yamcha was a few times, and Yamcha's done nothing but train up, so he can keep up too. Who are they going to send? Well, they're wondering who they should send just as much as anyone. But this is when Trunks showed off that he has a new form too, but only in the tournament will he show it. And they don't even know about the Kaioken form that Goku can straight up just master, with Kaioken up 20 being like, he starts walking around in it. When he's in blue Kaioken up 20, it's his starting to be base form in a sense. Or at least he tries keeping up with it like it is. Now, this is when we get to see a whole different side of them. We see that Trunks does a little bit of surprising. Since they're wondering who they should send as the 5th guy, when Monaka got chosen, they all called him out on his bullshit. They can sense ki, and Monaka is not that strong. When Beerus tries saying, yes he is, and this is when they're calling him out. They're trying to become the strongest. They don't want to have to deal with a weak fighter on their team. When Piccolo said, I'll challenge to be the one to be the 5th competitor, Monaka saying, alright, but I really wanted to go in this fight. But they go, and Monaka absolutely got dominated. He straight up just got his ass whooped. This is when Piccolo said, I'm going to be the 5th fighter. Kinda sucks Gohan isn't here though. But this would do a little bit of increasing their chances. Now, this is when they get to see a whole different side. they're wondering who they should go first. First is Goku. Then Goten and Trunks. In that order. Then Vegeta, then Piccolo. Now, I'm going with that at least. Now the battles go basically the same. Actually, you know what? The battles are gonna go the same for a little bit. Actually, no. I'm not sure the first three guys would be. I'm gonna say it was that one dude who looks like a giant fucking Winnie the Pooh gummy bear type motherfucker. Yeah, him first. And Goku's going in first, so he's ready to fight. Or, I guess what makes more sense would be Goku. Then Piccolo, then Goten, Trunks, and Vegeta to be the last fighter. Now, this is when we get to see that gummy bear dude, and Goku sees that his power isn't doing it. So he has an idea. If no physical attack will work, why doesn't he just use ki? Now he's strong enough, even in base form, his ki attack sends this guy flying. He's at the edge of the ring. And Goku said, I wonder if this physical attack will work. So he flies at full force and slams him as hard as he could. Being told that the power goes into another dimension, and once that dimension gets filled up with power, it doesn't really affect him, because no one's ever been able to throw that much hard of a punch, other than maybe a god could throw that. What he didn't know is that Goku wasn't in base form anymore. He hit his ultimate strongest form. Blue Kaioken times 20, one-shotting the bear, as its strip overwhelmed the universe's power and sent him flying. This is when we get to see that no one was expecting that one. Then the shit talker guy. Now, in this, actually, yeah, in this version, first we got that one, then we got the guy who looks like Frieza. Now Goku and him go at it for a few seconds until Goku kind of thinks he missed a shot, feels a prick, and then hits the floor and slaps the ground. Goku out. But what's going to happen next? Goku's been knocked the fuck out. What could happen next? Well, then they send him Piccolo. Piccolo, after getting stabbed, called out that shit. Now, this is when Vegeta forcefully yelled out that. But they didn't want him disqualified. They wanted it to be that Goten could go against him. Because Goten wanted to. Goten started beating off with Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, even Super Saiyan 3, pretty much matching Frost's speed and strength. This is when his eyes close and they open with rage. As you see Super Saiyan 4 awaken. This is when Goten looks eye to eye with the strongest creature around, with this thing that reminds him so much of Frieza. As his power increases, he one-shots this thing, sending him bouncing out of the ring and hitting the floor. Not even saying Frost in the last moment, he thought it was Frieza for a second, and yelled, "Frieza!" with a lot of rage. Wondering who the fuck this Frieza guy is whenever he got slammed. Now this is when we get to see an ultimate fight. Now we've got that one dude. Now, his heat utterly, affects the child. And all that fur made it a lot hotter to him, as he had trouble breathing for a second. And this is when you see Goten hits the floor. His Super Saiyan 4 form hitting the floor as well, as it turned off. As he was drugging out. But there you see a raging Goku, even a little bit of anger in his eyes. Thing is, Vegeta wanted to be the last one to go anyway. So he wants them to all go before him. Now, this is when we get to see Trunks versus this thing. The heat starts getting to him, but this is when his Hope form came in. And he actively calls this thing a pile of tin. Hearing this, it starts to cry. Realizing the weakness was that it was hated being called names, Trunks just starts unloading these little fuckers at him. Talking all the shit. Then, utterly one-shotting this thing out of the ring. Next, we've got the, but actually, you know what? I'm going to say that this does, kind of put him out. But then we're going to have the one to be next is Kaba. Kaba, not knowing what the fuck a Super Saiyan was before this, When surprisingly enough, Trunks says, "I'm done." He couldn't handle the heat and he needs something to drink. He's burning up. And he actually said he's done. Now, who's going to go in? Well, it was going to be Piccolo, and Piccolo said, "You know what? Vegeta, you go in before me." It's going to be funny. And yes, Piccolo did kind of set this thing up because he wants to see what happens when another versus Saiyan goes against this versus Saiyan. So they leave this to be a fight. Surprisingly enough, hearing this, they're fine with it. If he wants to go last, he can go last. At least that's what all the gods think. Now, well, technically he would go last. Huh. Since, yeah, Vegeta would be the next to go in. Then you've got, you know, Goku, then you have Goku, then you have Piccolo. Piccolo's the last guy. So yeah, Vegeta goes in there, and he actually had a fist fight. But he does, when he actually starts yelling this thing, it makes even Trunks a little bit scared of his father. When you hear, "I won't let you. I'll kill you first." Oh shit. Everyone thought for a second whenever they see a Super Saiyan Kaba walk in, actively dominating the fight against base version Vegeta. Vegeta hits Super Saiyan. Then, Vegeta hits Super Saiyan 2. Kaba copies him and hits Super Saiyan 2 himself. Vegeta goes into Super Saiyan 3 for a moment. Kaba's trying to copy it, and he actively uses Rage and hit it for a few seconds as he tries fighting with it, but he doesn't think it'll work, as Vegeta saw the 3 for a second and just knocks him clean the fuck out with blue evolution, or royal blue. And this is when he actually uses royal blue against, you know, Hit. Now in this version, Hit being the last fighter, when his time skip happened, for a second, Vegeta thought he could keep up with it for a second. He was fast enough for a second. But then, he got punched. And actively wasn't knocked out. He was just, they're fighting, and for a second, Vegeta got too cocky when he went to spring, and actively got sent outside of the ring, and hit the ground. As he started skiing in the dirt, he stood up. Looking at eye and spitting a little bit of mud out, saying, "Fine." Licking his wounds, the next being Goku. Goku, using Kaioken's 20, noting that this is utterly winning, but, you know, only reason blue wasn't enough, like royal blue, is because he was using it not quite right. He was outpowering him, yes, but he just wasn't prepared for the technique. Because they'd already seen this technique, they tried beating it. And in the end, Goku and Hit, Goku falls first. As in he slips out for a second, and his back hits the bottom of the ring before Hit. Now this is when Hit stays standing and says, "Alright, one more to go. I hope he's not as strong as the rest of them." Frosting him on pretty easily, let's see what he's got. Piccolo looks eye to eye with this guy and saying, "I like your style." They go out 1-1, and they're actually having a pretty decent fight. Until it's interrupted. It's interrupted when a straight-up, overpowered attack was sent. Who sent this attack? Well, it was Piccolo. He used Special Beam Cannon. When that didn't work, he actually used his, stretchy arms to straight-up turn around the assassin. The assassin's surprised by this when he's knocked out the ring by Piccolo with a punch, with a stretchy arm. And even at one point, Hit almost actually shatters the bones in Piccolo's arms. I don't know if Namekians have bones, I'm gonna say they do. Now, with his bones shattered, he said, as he tore it off and threw it right at the, you know, right at Hit for a second, Hit was confused. He was blinded by the arm hitting him in the eyes. Just to be sent flying by a punch from the other arm is what got him out. He actively was going with everything he had and still lost. This is when he actually looked at them and said, "Y'all are strong." And Hit actually has to get up and then goes to catch Frost. He catches him pretty easily though. So it wasn't exactly an unimpressive feat. It just wasn't that big of a deal to catch Frost. Now this is when we get to see that Frost wasn't planning on being caught. And Frost kind of was let go. Just told not to do something stupid or else he would kind of deal with it himself. Now, this is when Champa starts threatening them, and surprisingly enough, Goku said, "Alright, you want to go? Let's go." Champa laughing, saying, "I'm stronger than Hit, you know. But do you have that bullshit ability of time stop?" "Well, no, then come at me then." "I only lost because of that bullshit ability I didn't figure out very fast. And because he was matching me pretty good in speed. But I don't see by the looks of you if you can even keep up with me." "Is that an insult about my weight?" Yes it is, lard ass." This is when, surprisingly enough, hearing this, he was enraged, and he said, "Let's go," as he shut up whenever they see Zeno. They're bowing while Goku still is all kind with it, with, Zeno. This is when he actually has his hand shook by Goku, and then the handshake is given by Goten, and even Trunks. They still look really young, and they are pretty young, but they're having fun with the, with the strongest being in existence, playing around with him for a second. And he likes them. He thinks Goku's fun, and Goten and Trunks are really fun. So they're all friendly and all that shit, and they're having a nice time. And surprisingly enough, whenever he hears that this is the king of everything... Sorry about that, my little brother's being a little dickhead again. Anyway, let's go. As this is when we get to see now that they've done this, and this is when they want to hear more about this God of Destruction they want to see more about this Champa versus Goku match. Surprisingly enough, deciding it'll be in 1 month's time. And yes, the tournament power will happen after this. Now, Champa thinks he's tough shit, right? Besides, he knows he can beat Hit, right? Telling Cabba to come here. Cabba saying, "Yeah? What's up? Come on, let's train." "What do you mean train?" "You're training with me. Hit, you too. I'll give you your little own travel of universe shit. I don't care. Just, please train." "Fine, let's go." They actually have a good, decent training session with each other. Until they figure out how outclassed they are. Now, surprisingly enough, they're training pretty damn good. But then they find out about the tournament. They decide to have a tournament of power. Now, they still have that baseball thing, but in this version, Champa looks a little bit more lean. And his arms are a little bit more bulked. They're not exactly perfect, but they're a little bit more bulky. Now, this makes it where Champa looks a good bit more like Beerus. He doesn't have abs, but he has a lot less rolls than he did in Can't. He looks a lot more fit. And he actually wonders what she would probably rank him in strength out of the Gods of Destruction. Well, based off what we know about them, I'd say you're roughly halfway a point. I think you're about the 6th strong. I think you're about the 5th strongest. Yes, no longer on the weakest category. You know there was a time you could match Beerus, right? I'd say Beerus is roughly the strongest now. Fine. As they keep going. Now, they do know there's only 2 days left before this tournament before this match between Goku and... Sorry about that, guys. They know there's only 2 days left before Champa versus Goku. Goku is trained against Beerus this whole time, actively acting like Beerus is going to be an equal match as Champa. Beerus straight up calls out bullshit when Champa hasn't even trained in, since they were younger. Beerus at least keeps his training up a little bit. Champa has his angel do everything for him, so... Goku doesn't care. He thinks that he'd be better off training as if he's fighting against someone stronger than Beerus. Beerus laughs and says, I don't think any of the gods are stronger than me, actually. Last time I checked, I was the strongest god of destruction. Granted, that was years ago. How long ago was it when you checked your strength with them? Well, out of sheer destructive force, I hold the strongest. Like how much? By roughly 1.1 times the second. Who's the second? Think that'd have to be the clown guy. Who's the clown guy? Not sure how to best say it. He's another god of destruction. which he used the actual name, but I really don't. I think it's like Belmont. He uses Belmont. He said Belmont. Don't know who that is. Whatever. Let's go. Now, that's in just Destruction Force. Belmont's the best martial artist out of every one of the gods, so from what they've known. Though they'd rank that Goku's martial arts skill are about the same as Belmont's. Now, Beerus is starting to actually match Goku's martial arts, so he thinks he may be the strongest. Now, they do know the most physically strength god Destruction is the guy who looks like a fish. Forgot which one that is. But then they go back to whatever. Though Beerus does hold the fastest speed and the most destructive force. Now this is when we can see Goku versus Champa. First is they go in there, and Goku and him start measuring each other up. At this point, they do note that they think Champa might be on the top 3 leaderboard of the Gods of Destruction, possibly even the strongest. Thing is, he's not. He barely matches up with people. He barely matches up with Belmont. Straight up, it goes Beerus, Belmont, the fish guy, and then we get to Champa. Now, Champa has the most rounded out of everyone, and he looks a lot more fit. So, he's ready for this fight, and he's stayed in a pretty good diet for this one, but he does still eat the stuff he wants to eat. But he does have these bulked out fucking arms when he does this, so he thinks he's strong as he was in his peak. He's not even half where he needs to be that. Now, he knows his destruction force is about the same as Beerus's. Well, he thinks it is at least. Since he does know he's about like 90% of what he was in his peak. So he's doing damn good. That was back when him and Beerus were the 4th and 5th strongest. So he thinks he can match with Beerus, since Beerus hasn't done anything. And he thinks Beerus is probably still the strongest being in their universe, right? Nope. When Champa tries using his, what he calls, Omen, he uses scratches of Ultra Instinct, which he's been training against Vados. And he thinks he's got it mastered, right? He thinks he's all that good shit, until he sees Goku using the actual fucking limited Ultra Instinct, which he went into at will. It's not Mastered Ultra Instinct, but it is Omen. He can go into Omen at will. The one from the Tournament of Power, when he first awakened it. As they see that this is almost on a stalemated match, it's like they're so close but so far. They're almost on an even playing field, but Goku obviously has the advantage. When they go into the end of it, Champa is talked around like he was a child, and he's laid out. This is when he yells, "Hakai," as kind of a sore loser moment. Using Hakai on Goku, Goku reflects it with what he calls Purify. It's a perfect example of how to overwhelm a Hakai. Or, actually, yeah, he does this. But he didn't notice that there was a second Hakai sent. He hasn't got the time to use another Purify, which basically is just full of angelic energy. As he gets hit with this Hakai, it surrounds his body. He's in a lot of pain, because this is actively a strong-ass Hakai. As he looks eye to eye with Beerus at the moment, he remembers that there was a moment Beerus had actually told him, "I'll use enough Hakai energy for it to fight you, but you have to be stronger than it." Can you do that, Can you do that, Goku? Yes. As Goku's eyes open, and he uses Mastered Ultra Instinct to get out of it. As he just one-shot the Hakai, not even saying Purify, but it still purified it. As it completely overwhelms. As he's completely overwhelming the god. And actively shit-stomping out he's actively shit-stomping Champa. Champa gets planted in the ground. His little head is in the dirt. And then Goku just sent him dropping right in front of Vados and said, "Vados, correct? That's your name, right, angel woman?" "Yes." "Take care of your puny god." As he walks away. And left. As he took a few steps and just wound up having his good old time, when Vegeta is actually talking with, Beerus. They've been training together, and they've been going about Ultra Ego. And they've gotten Ultra Ego so far. Thing is, this would make it where he's only got the mimicry of Ultra Ego. He's got the Ultra Ego Omen type thing. Though when he wants to enrage it out, he can use his regular Ultra Ego, but it straight up starts dropping his legs down whenever he takes steps. And he knows it only matters if it's someone strong enough to actually deal damage to him. Unless it's a God of Destruction, he highly doubts that. Now, this is when we get to see that they plan the tournament. They've got 24 hours to gather participants. Goku, surprisingly enough, says, "Hey, Zeno, can we gather a little bit more time? How much time do you think would be good?" 1 week. Okay. As this is when they're actually deciding who they should send in. Now, they're thinking, who would be good to get? They know how strong... Sorry about that, guys. They know how strong Frieza was. And even compare that, even Krillin is not strong enough to keep up with him. Krillin, Tien, and Yamcha probably couldn't. So, they straight up said, alright, let's find out. They find out who's the strongest out of everyone there, and they see that it goes in this exact list. It's Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks. Actually, it's Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Goten, and Trunks. Then, the powers kind of go crazy. You have 17, then you have 17, then you have 18 and Krillin tied, or even small hints of Krillin being stronger, and then you have Tien and then Yamcha. So, who are they going to send out? They talked to 18 and 17 about going in, and they say they're fine with that. So, they've got 6, 7, 8. They could send Tien and... They could send in Tien, Yamcha, or Tien and Roshi, but who should they... They're not certain. They know who to pick. They think about maybe getting Cell back. They're not certain about that, though. Eventually, they say, fuck no, let's not get Cell back. He's only on level of Super Saiyan 2, and even Yamcha's stronger than him. So, this is when they say, I know who to get. Frieza. They revive him for a day. For the tournament, and that's about it. As Frieza's got a weird halo on his head, they were surprised that he didn't get demon horns. And this is when he said, very funny. Supposed to be. Ha. Anyway. They still got hit with that random, like, a god throwing that Hakai energy at him, but this is when... That was because they didn't realize there was a match between, you know, a god of destruction and this mortal before. Now, when Goku was in base form taking this Hakai like it wasn't even a thing, and he just powers out of it, he says, bad. Bad Frieza, and slaps him in the mouth. Recreating the scene from, you know, Dragon Ball Z, when he's going in Super Saiyan and slaps him around like he was a child. And yeah, it's going to be a brutal beating. Then we have the active fucking bouts. The preliminaries went the same way. Actually, I say Universe 7 dominates most of the preliminaries. So, thing is, Kaba and Kit have been training this whole time. Kaba wonders about getting the energy of the gods. He thinks he could probably use it, but he wasn't sure which he should use. But he did also know there was, without the energy of the gods, there was a matching form that was called Super Saiyan 4. He wanted to try that one. He tries to get it, but he can't seem to figure it out. So he trains and eventually even reaches Super Saiyan. He decided to go with the godly power training with, you know, training with Champa. So he got Super Saiyan God. And hit Blue even once. Though admitting it was exhausting for him to do, and it was less as strong, it was weaker than anyone from Universe 7 Blue. Thing is, with Kale, she figured out her berserk form and absolutely got slapped around by Kaba. And Caulifla got Super Saiyan up to 1 and 2, but not 3 yet. Kaba did show her 3, and she was begging him to show her, but he said, nah, not now. I can't show you how to get it, it's hard to do. Even I took over a month to even figure out 3, And then when I got this God form, I can barely use it on where it needs to be. Alright. Now, this one we get to see that Goku kind of plans for them to be strong as this. Now, Kale hasn't mastered her form, but Goku doesn't really care. Whenever the tournament just ends with the entire Universe 7 utterly dominating. Because everyone on their team is that powerful. Now, who's going to be the last participant, though? They know it has to be someone strong. When surprised enough, instead of TN, they decided to get Roshi. Yeah. Roshi. Wait a minute. Goku. Hold on a second. There's Goku. There's Vegeta. There's Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and Goten. Then you got Trunks. Then you have Roshi. 3 left. You've got Krillin, 17 and 18. At least that was the plan. But they noticed that 17 kind of can't. They noticed that 18 isn't strong enough to. And they were originally planning on her to go in there, but they decided they needed Frieza. They needed him. So, who are they going to substitute? Roshi, he had too much experience to be the one to be thrown out, and his Buffalo wave would be unstoppable. They would choose, like, Buu, but they don't have him at the moment, so he's kind of screwed over in that one. So, they have to keep someone. 18 decided to leave herself and said, honey, win me the money, though. You got it. So, Bulma decided to be the one to pay for it. As they're going to give her the cash. Krillin, knowing that he's going to have to show in on this one, as he shows his buff form that's matching toe-to-toe with a Super Saiyan Blue Goku, which isn't even Goku's top form, but it's impressive as hell. He's got Ultra Instinct Mastery, which he can only stay in for about 2 hours, but that's it. 2 hours is all he can do with this, like 4. But that's still not a small amount of time. Like, that's, like, at this point, it's over 1 1/3 of my video so far. As this is when we get to see Goku utterly destroy everyone who tries coming at him. But this version, Jiren realizes how fucked he is if he fights alone. Since he saw Goku, he went at Goku and got straight up curb stomped by an Ultra Instinct Goku. He got up, wiped the blood out of his mouth and said, yeah, I'm gonna need to fight him with everything I got. So, they go in an ultimate form, even to even. They're fighting on a stalemated battle. But remember, they have to both lay back because they're getting knocked around. Goku hits the ground and starts bouncing, as he landed kind of exhausted. Just needs to get a little bit of a break. He can't keep up with Jiren right now. Jiren noting that he's absolutely exhausted. So he actually has to go rest for a second, doing his, meditation to get the rest of his strength out. Goku going to rest for a second and train a little bit. And they do. With the Despo and Topo protecting Jiren for a second while he was trying to regain some of his strength. And then you have, on the other hand, Goku, when he's breaking back, he sees Kale and Caulifla terrified while they're getting hurt. As Goku powers up in base form and just one-shots both of these, things that were attacking them and sends them flying, saying, bad. As he looks eye to eye and saying, let's go. You're Saiyans, right? Let's fight. Now, he's able to kick into Super Saiyan 3. He may even be able to kick into God, but only for moments. But he's using this to replenish his strength. So after he hits 3, even being able to go back into God easily, even being able to go back into his blue form, he's happy. But he's not yet strong enough to go in. So what's he gonna do? He gon', and repeat after me on this one, he gon' train with them. Kale went into a Berserk form, and this version, Jiren not wanting to have to fight that, because he's already injured. So he retreats back with his group. Though, it wasn't really a good call when Frieza shows up. Frieza catches Dispo lacking, and Dispo actually eliminates Frieza. Because Topo was with them. They jump Frieza, and they eliminate him. That's right. Frieza is the first to be eliminated. This is all happening within the first 5 seconds. This all happens within the first beginning of the match in this version. Now, Kaba sees that he has to intervene, and flies forward to match even to even with Goku for a second. Now, Goku has now got enough energy to go back in Ultra Instinct, but he only uses Ultra Instinct Omen, as he calls it a weaker variation, and when Dispo goes into his Hakaishin form, or God of Destruction mode, he keeps up as he's ready to fight with right next to Jiren. They're going even to even. 2v1. Goku is taking on an extra group. He's taking on Kefla and Kaba. So, yeah, that's a whole-on fight. And in the end, Goku straight up one-taps all of them to hit the floor. They start rolling. Now, he's exhausted, so he stops. And he's taken out... Now, the thing is, he's not strong enough to do this. This is when, surprising enough out of everyone, Krillin jumps in, with Roshi having his back. Them both nodding their head and powering up. As you hear Roshi straight up get ready for a fight, for a full-on physical with, these people, but this is when he actually protects Goku and blocks the Hakaishin punch and pops Dispo right in the mouth. Surprisingly enough, this doesn't even affect Dispo, as Dispo straight up is about to hit him with a Hakai form palm that was going to probably that would have almost killed the old man. Though this is when he is stopped when Krillin tanks the attack and stands up. He looks eye to eye with the destruction power and says, maybe that would have affected me if I didn't train with Vegeta for a few days beforehand. Let's go. Surprisingly enough, Vegeta saying, I take this one. And looks eye to eye with Dispo. Let's say, I'll have him 1-to-1, let's go. Oh, you really think you're that tough? Dispo going into his strongest form, trying to attack Vegeta. Vegeta showing him the mastered variation of it, using Ultra Ego with his, him looking just like a real god of destruction. Though he doesn't have the clothes, he's got rocking the same triangles, the same ones Dispo has, in Ultra Ego with a mastered variation. And actually knocks Dispo out of the thing. But now, Piccolo, surprisingly enough, shows up. Him and Hit are walking forward, battling it out into an even stalemate. Until they both knock each other out of the ring on a last punch. When, out of everything, Jiren just got knocked out. Now, the entirety of the universes are surprised. They thought Jiren was going to be the biggest threat. But the entirety of Universe 7 are monsters. Now, after Roshi is knocking a few of them around, he actually gets knocked out himself. Exhausted as he was, he said, I'm done, kiddos, as he hit the ground, as he fell out. And then, surprisingly enough, 17 is standing there as well. He's fighting the whole universe by himself and winning. But in the end, he does lose after a second universe came in and helped them. And it turned into an every universe versus 7. Now, Goku is exhausted from using Ultra Instinct again for 2 different big battles with Jiren, and at one point having to deal with everyone at once with Jiren on his ass. He had to deal fighting damage. But he stands there in base because that's not actually hard for him to stay in. He can probably go into Super Saiyan 3 at this point too. He just can't go into higher forms. So he's only in base. Now, even only in base, he's still a threat. Now, when he's done with his only base form, he's doing pretty good. But he eventually does give in. Now, he's actually got 3 opponents left. A Yard Rat from another universe. He respects the guy because he understands and uses he uses instant transmission a few times in the match himself. And the Yard Rat asking how the hell he learned that move, He said it was from the yard rats in his own universe. They taught it to him after they saved him from the brink of death. Hearing this, he's intrigued. Now, they're seeing whose is better, and surprisingly enough, Goku's. Because he's just that much more powerful that it doesn't matter how good that guy's teleportation is. Before that guy can even move a finger, Goku's already hit him 4 times. Then, you've got a handful of other competitors. But Universe 7 is so strong that there's only about a few of them knocked out. But this is when Vegeta actively has to fight a half of a universe left. Thing is, he's still exhausted, he's a little bit tired. Not exactly defeated, but still. But the entirety of that universe uses everything they have to take Beerus, to take Universe 7 out. Making it where the only one left was Goku and 2 random-ass fucking people. I'm gonna say it was actually the 3, like, wolf-fox things. They jump at him, and he's like, okay, alright. Goku in this version, when he hits Ultra Instinct again, knocks all 3 of them out, and said, my wish? That was a strong opponent, and I want to see them get stronger, so I wish for every universe, every single one of the ones that just got destroyed to be brought back. Your wish has been granted. Now we've got to deal with, the final person. We've got to deal with Broly. And I know Broly doesn't even seem like he's a big threat right now, right? Well, the thing is, Frieza knows how strong Goku was. He knew his form was not strong enough. So, he trained with gold. Granted, he didn't train for the 10 years yet, so he doesn't have black form yet. But he's getting close to it. He's getting real damn close to black. But, this is when he would actively use his new form. What would that form be? It's basically, it looks a lot like gold. It looks a lot like his golden form, but it looks more like he found a way to use golden form through his 4 evolutionary stages, basically making it where his final golden form would be his final thing. But now he found his first form with his black body, which he calls Black Form 1, which is stronger than golden by a good bit. And then he even tries using his second form in it, which increases in powers even more. So it looks like black form, but it's like his number 2, his second strongest, which is like his second form on Namek, but has some black highlights on it instead. So he looks a little bit different, which, I mean, yeah. And then he actively found this black form, which he trained with Broly for about 3 days. Or really, I'd say in a time chamber for almost half a year. For about half a year, and whenever they walk out, they see the amount of power. Broly has Super Saiyan. He has not got Berserk form yet, but he does know about his, his bigger boy form and his bigger boy with Super Saiyan form, which he calls Mastered Super Saiyan, which they call the True Super Saiyan form for a second. This is when he knows that this version of Broly should be able to keep up with Goku and Vegeta in 1-to-1s, and his black form hopefully will be able to. But in the end, he found out what his brother, he used a form he wasn't expecting. He used the black form to its peak, and it was actually getting dominated by Goku and Vegeta quite easily. Now, you might be thinking that makes no sense, but in this version, Gohan came in too to go against, the strong boy of Broly, and he does pretty well against it. He does damn good, and they go on and on for this fight. But then, in the end, it does kind of go into someone else's favor. It goes into the favor of Broly. It goes into Broly's favor for a second. And then, surprisingly enough, Gogeta has to come out because Goku and Vegeta can't keep up with this fight on their own. Now, the rest of their universe is fighting, but they're originally only going with Goku and Vegeta to do this fight. Thing is, Goku and Vegeta need Gohan's help to deal with this. They can't beat Frieza on their own right now. So it's time they use their new form. They fuse. But they didn't just use a regular... They tried using the fusion dance, but their power was too strong. This is when they got the idea. They called Whis, and Whis actively showed up saying, since Whis is already there, he makes. They do actually take Broly, and they see Gohan fighting against Broly, and they fly away from that, and they have Broly flinging his fists at a Black Frieza, who's actually on an equal playing field now that Broly's berserked. They're going on an even fight. And even at some points, Broly holding the upper hand. Thing is, in the end, Broly does straight up get destroyed. Like, he doesn't actually lose that, but he does get sent flying. Now, Frieza sees a Broly coming at him, and he's like, oh, shit. He's already weakened from fighting an Ultra Instinct Mastered Goku and an Ultra Ego Mastered Vegeta. Stronger than they are currently in the manga. And this black variation isn't as strong as it was in the manga. So, yeah. Then, they're training. And this is when Gohan shows his beast form. And surprisingly enough, Goten is showing up, looking a lot older, saying he trained in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber for 1 year with Trunks. Now, they're impressed by the growth they showed. This is when he wasn't sure why, but they started bulking, they bulked out a little bit and got a little bit taller. Now they actually look eye to eye with their parents, at least somewhat eye to eye. I guess it'd be better saying chest to eye, and with Trunks, he actually looks eye to eye with his father already. I mean, he is pretty small, so it's not a big deal, but still. Now, because Trunks has a little bit of a height advantage on Goten, it's surprising. Then, we see that they keep going, and they do a little bit of sparring, they do a little bit of a kind of thing. Trunks actually has an idea. They'll buy time. Surprisingly enough, they see a fusion dance. A Super Saiyan 5 fusing with Beast Form Gohan. As they show Beast 5, they call it Beast 5 because it's the ultimate powers. They're in an even playing field. And they're actually fighting against Broly and Frieza right now. And this fusion only lasts for about maybe 5 minutes. So Goku and Vegeta have to fuse quick. They fuse into the proper Gogeta. They do use the Batara in this version, because they can't fuse it with Gogeta. It wouldn't last more than maybe 5 minutes, at most. And they think that wouldn't be enough time to win this fight. So they do fuse. Using the Batara that was actually called Angel Grade Batara, when 2 angels fuse. Though, admittingly, they usually just use the Super Dragon Balls to unfuse them. This is only for, like, end-class level events that are needed. Now, the angels are allowed to fight, but they're only allowed to fight when given the order to fight. So, yeah. At this point, they're utterly overwhelmed. And they show Vegito with these Angel Grade Batara that would last for about a day. Vegeta didn't want to go in this, but they did. Though this is when their eyes peered open in royal power. And Whis instead said there's actually an Angel Grade fusion dance as well. That's a lot more effective than the big one they're using. Surprise, they actually are intrigued by this, and they want Whis to teach them, but not yet. Since they're going to fight this. Now, this is when Broly got one shot. He hit the floor, but he's raging out. A Super Saiyan Green 3 comes up and actually pops Vegito in the mouth. The thing is, Vegito combined Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct. It looks more like God Killer Vegito from that little manga. That's pretty badass. I recommend y'all go check out God Killer Vegito. Don't got any links to it, but go check it out. Google that shit. It's pretty good. Now, here we go. This is when we get to see that Goku is returning into his peak power. When Frieza came in black form, it just straight up got one-tapped. Even if they fused, it's a lot stronger than they could have expected. This one-tapped Frieza, as he actually got knocked out. Though, right before when Broly was locking arms with Vegito, it was going pretty accurate until they see Frieza run off as fast as he fucking can. He's not trying to fight that. He goes to one of his random planets and saw the time chamber he had. The one that's not very good. It'll take months to get worth a year's training, but still. Now, This would be when they look at each other, and Frieza goes in there and starts training. Now, this is when the events of they should actually have Goku going over there to look at Broly eye to eye on Vampa with Chila and all that, offering him a place on Earth if he ever wanted to come. But Broly said, "But didn't y'all kill my father?" No, Frieza made that up. What? Honestly, we weren't even really going to attack your father. Why? Well, honestly, I think even Trunks could have beat his ass. Who's Trunks? I'll introduce you if you want to go train with them. Now, if you want to, just say yeah. Sure. Let's see about this training you talk about. It sounds fun, but I'm not sure if it would be fun. Well, let's get one in. They do a little bit of training. They do pretty good. Pretty good. And they finish off the sparring session with Goku standing above Broly and Broly saying, "You're really quick." Yeah, I am. Now, if you want to become faster and stronger, just say yeah. Sure. Well, if you ever want to move to Earth, just power up as high as you can. Sure. As he powers up as high as he can and saying, "Would Chila be welcome? Would Yamu, or whatever the fuck his name is, be welcome?" Yes, he would. Perfect. This is when they absolutely run. They all decide to go back to Earth with Goku's instant transmission, and they show him the powers they all have. He's intrigued. He wants to try taking one of them. He wants to try training with them to see if he can go into something like this. Though they do note that he's got a weird form, as his power is above theirs. His Super Saiyan, so he wants to train that. So he tries getting like they try using God on him. When he has God, it looks a little bit different, but it's not a big deal. It's just more bulky. When they try getting him to train with blue, instead of his hair going blue, it goes orange. And it actually matches up with Super Saiyan blue levels of strength. They're surprised in this. What should they call it? He calls it Super Saiyan Orange. It combines his Rage or Akati form with Super Saiyan Blue. As he goes out of Akati form and shrinks down a little bit, he shows it to look a lot more like blue. Though still looking a little bit odd, since it doesn't look the right color, shade of blue at least, but whatever. He turned it back to orange, saying he calls it his strongest form, but it's exhausting to keep up with. They said, yeah, it looks exhausting, man. Want to ever train out of that? Let's go. He didn't want to try Ultra Instinct or Ultra Ego. So, what should he go with? Now, this is when the events of the Gohan movie would happen. Only in this version, when the Gammas came in, they tried messing with Gohan. They actually took his kid. But whenever they got there, they were terrified. When Cell Max came out, it was not a fight. It was a fight to the death. Now, Gohan doesn't actually one-shot Cell Max, but Piccolo still has to make a wish on the Dragon Balls so he can keep up with this thing for a few moments at least. But when he made that wish to unleash his full potential, he didn't know how high it was. He matches with Cell Max on an even scale. Only for Gohan to one-shot Cell Max with a single Ki Blast. And says, "Goodbye, boy." What? The amount of fear that built up seeing this. They've never seen a fight like this. It was an underwhelming defeat for Cell Max. But this is when they noticed maybe Cell would be a person they could bring back. But if he still hates them that much, maybe he would be better off forgotten. This is when Goku actually wonders what would happen if they started training. What would happen if other people were to survive? Like, what would happen if his brother would have survived? He could have been so much strong. Or what would happen if certain people would have trained with them? Like, what if Frieza went good or something like that? He's thinking about all this stuff. And this is when it was revealed by Trunks. This is revealed by, surprisingly enough, Zeno. When he's talking to Zeno about how things could have been so different if things would have changed. This is when Zeno reveals that there's multiple timelines. course, that stuff did happen. Really? Yes. He wants to visit these timelines, but he decides not to. Now, the events of Beast end with Gohan, utterly destroying Cell, but then there was another thing. Black Frieza, or the Granola and all that shit arc in the manga. Now, in this version, they utterly stomp everyone out. But there's that one guy who gets older and stronger the more he, with that weird thing he does. Thing is, he's actively he looks pretty old and ashy already. He looks ancient with fighting Goku alone. When Vegeta jumps in, he looks like he's a crumbled up skeleton, but he can still move at pretty fast moments. But he does look ancient. This is when, surprisingly enough, the one he actually has to be scared of is Frieza. Because right before Broly was about to step in, Frieza one-shot him in his black form. Not a big deal, right? It's just a black form, right? Well, not quite. Since it looks more like Cooler's form, but black. Sorry about that, guys. My phone kind of just glitched out, but yeah. So, it's kind of like the final variation of a form, in a sense. And this is when they get to see how bullshitly strong they actively are. They see a Berserkian type power. Whenever, it looks like Cooler from his, strongest Cooler form, but it's all pitch black. They think this looks badass, so they're intrigued, but they all know this is going to be a good fight. Thing is, he's stronger than Goku. He's got more brute force than Vegeta as well. But Ultra Ego makes it where it's an actual pretty even match. And Ultra Instinct dodges all Frieza's attacks and lands the ones of its own. Thing is, Beast Mode Gohan comes in and walks in the fight, sees what's going on and says, huh, what's happening? Really saying, they're kicking his ass. Makes sense. He wants to get his own rematch with Frieza. Surprisingly enough, Goten shows up hearing Frieza's name saying, I smell smoke, let me get in on this fight. Super Saiyan 5 should be more than enough, right? As he goes into it saying, no, bad Gohan, bad Goten, bad Goten. Surprisingly enough, Broly says, I want to go in too, but there's only one Frieza. Surprisingly enough, Frieza gives up. And actually tries to kill them. But he doesn't have the chance. He hits Goku in the gut with one punch that actually lands. Goku looks down at him and says, nope. And backhands the shit out of Frieza. Vegeta gets punched in the face. And he turns and starts walloping right on Frieza's face. Now this is when they're considering making Goku and Vegeta gods of destruction, but Goku said he didn't want to become a god of destruction once this fight is done. Broly saying he was thinking about trying to become a god of destruction, but he didn't think it would suit him very well. He's too much of a gentle giant. This is when they were given opportunities to fix the destruction in worlds. Universes. They got the 3 weakest gods of destruction. Surprisingly enough, Gohan became the god of destruction for Kitela. That's the mouse. For the guy who's just, he looks like a little green dude with red hair, that would be the one that Broly took over. And then you've got that one random one, I forgot what it was. I'm gonna say, I forgot which one it was. The fur ball, the literal black ball of fur. That one is going to be given to go to Vegeta. Though, this is when they say maybe they should get rid of Beerus or Champa. This is when Champa shows his new strength and size. Being a lot more bulky and more being bigger than even his brother. But this is when you see a little bit more of a bulked up version of everyone's favorite cat, as Beerus looks more like he's been training. And he wants to get back to his peak. I'm sorry this was a 2-hour video, guys, but yeah. Now, this is when they kind of ended off. Each of them becoming their own gods of destruction. Goku actively becoming an angel. Now that he's got the angelic power, he looks down. And he became the angel for Universe 7. As him and Whis was trained for it, they would all train together, and he'd actually become the angel of a random universe. And a random other angel just decided not to do their job anymore when they sat down. Because they're called the Archangels. They're the ones they're the regular angels, but they don't serve a god of destruction. Mainly, they don't really do anything. But their job is to protect the other gods of destruction, or even help them out when need be. This is when Goku actually said he actually had an idea. What if all his group eventually became gods of destruction? All of them, really. Though, the only two gods of destruction left, there's only 3 regular gods of destruction left that aren't part of the Z Fighters. There's Beerus, who's basically an honorary member. There's Champa, who's on the same level, who's about to give out his own god of destruction spot to someone else. And he's actually passed it down to... He was thinking he should give it to Hit. Though Hit decided to say, no, I don't want to. I'm a hitman, not a god. Though I'm probably on the level of one. I'm not doing it. Alright. And it was actually Kaba who became the god of destruction for Universe 6. Kind of impressive. Kale and Caulifla wanted to join in on that, and they actually became god of destruction in their own right, but they used Angel Grey Petard to become Kefla, god of destruction. And she took Hella's spot. That would be the chick who looks Egyptian. Yeah, they took her spot. And then they left. As their own gods of destruction and everything. Now from the final person. They would decide they would turn that everyone has reached their points. They've reached what they wanted to do. And this is when Goku became an Archangel. He became one because he didn't need to help any other... He decided to help other universes. So, yes, all the angels have their own thing, and it's him and Beerus, they train a lot. Thing is, eventually they've trained to the point where they're on too much of an uneven playing field. And it's an actual stalemated fight. Now it's a fight between them and some of the strongest. It's a fight since Goku is now trying to become the Grand Priest, at least on his level. Which Grand Priest Goku became a real thing. I know it's already I'm not sure if it's canon, but it's already a thing. But in this version, it's an overwhelming thing. He's stronger than the regular Grand Priest, stronger than both Zeno's guards. And the only person who can even match him is Zeno himself. And the thing is, Zeno's not a good martial artist. He's not fast, he's not strong. He just has the delete button for everything. He can delete everything he wants. He can just delete everything if he wants to. But Goku, on the other hand, is such a master martial artist, and actually Zeno wanted to train with him, and he shows his full strongest form, which they found out when both Zenos fused and gained full strength. They're actually on the same page as Goku. So yeah, they're on the same level of strength as him, because yes, they're technically, that's physical strength. He still has his delete button. And now they finally end up showing who's the truly strongest of the group. When Goku, in his straight up strongest form, was considered if he wanted to become a new Omni King, the king of the Omniverse. And he accepted. Sorry about that, guys. And Zeno decided to stay, wasn't sure if he should stay king or not, since he feels he's lived long enough. And he straight up retires and passes away, feeling his body had been through too much strain, and gave a good goodbye to Goku. Goku, who's mastered every strength, he's the strongest being in existence, feels empty. Though he still looks for a challenge. But now, no one's stronger than him. What is he going to fight? Who is he going to keep up with? And that's all. And that's all, folks. Now, this is basically going to be called a movie, because I was going to put this in multiple parts, but I didn't get the chance to. So this is What If Gohan Trained Goten, the movie. That's all. Goodbye, folks. Stay slick.